Hello! I just want to say hello to the Five Fish Fangirls. No, that's wrong. I want to say hello to the Five-ish Fangirls. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
that's
Anyway,
correct.
hello. 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 That's five hellos to the Five-ish Fangirls. Bye.
This is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
Five-ish Fangirls, I love you, and I'm one of the five-ish. In fact, I'm the biggest one of the five-ish. I am the Sixth Doctor Colin Baker, and I wish you all well. Have fun.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode number 28 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And I know the ads say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but in this case, we're going to make an exception. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls. Do every week by going around the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
All right, this is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Hallie from Wisconsin.
This is Mitch in Kitchener, Ontario.
This is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana.
This is Chauncey.
And we had Brittany and she disappeared.
The vortex sucked her away.
She was there. And
but we have Chauncey, too.
We do have Chauncey here.
Yes.
No.
So
Brittany will hop in when...
May pop up later.
Yes. That happens all the time, so our listeners should be used to it. So, well, at least most of us are here, so yay! And we have we have a lot to talk about because we have a special guest with us, which is unusual for us, but and we've got a lot of news. We started out with like 3 pieces of news, and I managed to double it within 5 minutes, but. Before we get into fandom-related news, unless you media at all, then you probably saw our announcements that we are now officially. It's so exciting!
Yay! Confetti! Yay! It's way exciting.
It is.
Now you can just search us on iTunes, and there we are.
Yes.
Yep.
It was.
I checked, and it works with and without the brackets around ish.
Yep.
So,
Nice.
Cool. It was nerve-wracking there because we'd.
Hello?
Hey, there's Brittany! Yay!
Brittany made back!
Yay!
Yeah, well, that was annoying.
It happens. The vortex is very fickle.
Right as we were doing our intros.
Yes. It's like
Wait,
silence.
seriously?
Chirp.
yeah, we were waiting for you, and you weren't here.
If you want to introduce yourself.
Okay.
Talking about how we are now on iTunes, so we may have new listeners, so you might as well introduce.
Right, well, sorry for being late, but this is Brittany in Fort Pierce.
See, there we go. Now that we've all introduced ourselves. So we were talking about how we're on iTunes, and it's very exciting, but it was a bit nerve-wracking because we had to set up, get ourselves on a server. Because I'm not going to go into all the technical stuff, but what you have to do is you have to be able. iTunes has to pluck the MP3 files from somewhere on the internet, and they use an RSS feed, which means that you can't have them on your hard drive. They have to be up on the internet somewhere. And if you're lucky enough to have your own website with server space, that's great. But in our case, we just have a blog spot, so there's coding involved, so it's much easier to get a subscription someplace. Server slot, and they do all the coding for you, and you just take the link for the RSS feed, you give it to iTunes, and they go, great, you're on.
And that is the sausage how she is made.
Exactly. So we put a post up on our blog, and if you want to read that, go ahead. But because I know some people have asked if we're going to put episode 27. Some people asked about past episodes. At this point, it's a maybe because we are limited on how many megabytes we can upload every 30 days. And as much as we like to talk, these files can get very large.
Yes.
So right now,
Which forces us to keep them short, and some of us, pointing at myself, to shut up half the time.
So
but anyway.
Right now, it's just going to be from episode 27 forward. If we find ourselves towards the end of the 30-day period and we have enough space to put up an older episode, we might make really confuse some people, because it'd be like 27, 28, 29, and then like 1. But it is a possibility.
Episode 1 is our shortest.
Well, that is true. So
significant amount.
We'll see how these next 3.
The time recap will take us a while to get
to. The Once Upon a Time recap may have to be its own month or something if we have like a month where somebody goes on vacation and we have to skip a week.
Hey, maybe that's what we'll do. Is if some reason we have to skip a week, we'll just say Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, Throwback Thursday. So,
anyway,
but that's where we are. We are now with iTunes on your computer, the podcast app on your Apple device. If you don't have an Apple device, like some weirdos do, the direct link that we offered, you can't, if you've got whatever podcast app for Android or whatever you have, that direct link should work as well. So there's that. But yes, we are on iTunes. It's very exciting. I was like able to pull it up on my phone and download it and listen to it and everything. I was like, oh, this is so exciting.
That's so cool. And we have Chauncey to thank for this, for his very generous support. And since we have you on, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's so awesome.
You guys have been
and our other
working really hard
Patreon supporters.
I said you guys have been working so hard at your podcast. I was like, it's about time. We got to make sure you guys are heard by the masses.
Hopefully the masses are listening. So hi, masses.
Hello, masses.
Yes. So
Welcome to the listeners.
We're working towards it. So.
Yes. So, and we will still keep putting them up on YouTube, because YouTube is a nice archive for anything else. And we'll keep doing the format like we have been, because some people have been listening that way and they may just prefer it that way. But if you are somebody that uses a podcast app, so.
Now, you know what? We can have multiple avenues to deliver our podcast. So iTunes is just another one of those. Another one of those avenues. So it's all good.
So now when Mitch goes to Galley next month, and they ask if we're on iTunes, she can go, yes.
Look us up now. Well, no, because the Wi-Fi at Galley really sucks.
Yeah.
But look us up when you get home.
Yep. So with that, let's move on to all the other news.
Alrighty, we start off with some Doctor Who news. Doctor Who will film part of Series 9 in Spain. Part of the next block for filming of Doctor Who's new season will apparently take place in Spain. The news was revealed on Twitter by Ali Assad, who is working as director of photography on 2 upcoming episodes. He tweeted, "Going to Spain on a location rec for the DR. Previous episodes partly be shot in Spain include Asylum of the Daleks, A Town Called Mercy, and last year's Kill the Moon." And then we also have some Series 9 casting news. Paul Kaye is confirmed for the new season of Doctor Who. The comedian and actor is currently filming an episode from the first block of filming for Season 9, playing a character called Prentice. Kaye played Thoros of Mirror in Game of Thrones and has also appeared in episodes of Ripper Street, Stella, and Being Human. Actor Colin McFarlane has joined the guest cast. McFarlane is not a stranger to the world of Who, having starred in Torchwood Children of Earth, which of course also starred Capaldi, as General Pierce had provided a voice for 2007's Voyage of the Damned. He is also well known for his television and voice work for many years, and more recently in films Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Now those two, the Colin McFarlane is very interesting to the fact that he was in Children of Earth. And Moffat has said that we are going to get an explanation of why the Doctor has this face and why we've seen it before in Doctor Who. And I wonder if we get this episode that we might not, or at the very least, the Doctor will be all like, it's like my face is trying to tell me, all the way back to Deep Breath. He's like, my face is trying to tell me something and I don't know what it is.
Do you think the 4, 5, 6 is going to be making a comeback?
I don't think so. I can't imagine that they would do that. And I mean, they haven't said who McFarlane is playing. And I think it would be odd if he was playing somebody else other than General Pierce, just because of the fact that we're supposed to find out the logic behind the Doctor having this particular face. So I think that he's probably going to be General Pierce, and he's going to encounter the Doctor and be really confused because, as far as he knows, I mean, I would assume that anyone involved in Children of Earth that lived to the end is aware that Capaldi's character killed himself. So
yeah.
So I'm intrigued at this particular piece of casting news personally. So I'm excited. This just in, Doctor Who is still not on.
But you know what is on? You know what is on our next bit of news, or non-news as I'm calling it, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Doctor Who and other BBC shows are not, repeat, all you people who panic, not leaving Netflix.
I didn't panic.
And I know you guys. I'm talking to some of the people out there.
Yes, you know who you are.
I'm going to get up here. Yeah, I'm going to get up here on my soapbox because there were so many people just going, "Oh my gosh, it's leaving at the end of January or 1st of February. All is lost. Help. Police.
Sign this petition.
Help.
Call Netflix.
Call the UN, whatever, I don't know." And I'm just like, you guys, every so often, Netflix has to renegotiate with every show or every studio that has shows on Netflix. This is normal. It's not going away. It's just at the end of the contract. They're going to renew it. Stop panicking.
Yes.
So when I saw this news, it was on the Washington Post, and it was on several other places. I was just like, oh, good grief, you guys. So this is so it's been renewed. It's going to stay on past January 31st, and it's,
well, I wasn't worried because I wouldn't have lost it even if the contract hadn't been renewed.
No, you Canadians,
Canadian Netflix is on a different
schedule.
Yeah, you were fine. You were fine.
Than U.S.
So you may have your panic in soon-ish, maybe sometime.
Canadians,
anyway,
I got standard. They got healthcare for everyone and different Netflix.
Yeah. So, and apparently Target folded in Canada. So.
Netflix, the presence or otherwise of Doctor Who on Netflix doesn't really affect me because I have it all on DVD.
Yeah, that too.
And that's how I watch it.
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
Everything was fine. So, and it wasn't just Doctor Who. There were some other BBC shows that were up, and I mean, there's a list in this news link, and we'll put it in our show notes. I'm not going to go through all of it, but all of classic Doctor Who seasons 1 through 7 is going to be there. And they also pointed out that stuff like Call the Midwife, Sherlock, and some other stuff that I don't know wasn't even up for renewal, so it's fine anyway.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few. Okay, so there were like 4 that were not renewed. Faulty Towers, Blackadder, MI5, and Red Dwarf. And I guess a lot of people watch Red Dwarf. I've never watched it, never wanted to. So if you want to start watching that, get on that. But Doctor Who is safe. It was always going to be safe. Nerds like to panic.
Yeah.
Apparently. It's in our DNA, so...
Oh. It was crazy. Like,
chill out, everybody.
There was a petition. I think several petitions. There were people, like, calling Netflix and sending emails and getting on Netflix like technical support and chatting with their tech support people saying, "Do not take away Doctor Who." I'm like,
well,
calm down.
It's not even really Netflix. I mean, it's the BBC too.
Yeah,
they have to come to an agreement. And Doctor Who is one of its biggest cash cows. And I mean, and there was talk about, oh, Hulu wants exclusive rights, blah blah blah, and it's like, not necessarily. And and it's like, the more outlets that they can have Doctor Who on, the more money they're going to make, the more, the more they'll be able to make Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. So it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's every time it came up on, it was usually like Radio Free Skaro or the Traveling the Vortex. They mentioned it, but Radio Free Skaro was talking a lot about it, and they were like, I don't know, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys, and they're Canadian, which we've established that Canadian Netflix is not in danger of losing it. So anyway, I'm getting off my soapbox now because we got a lot more news to get through. So. Take it away, whoever's next up.
Well, our next bit of news actually will be quite short. If you were watching TV last Sunday, you saw the Golden Globes were on, and nobody that we care about won anything.
Welcome to award season, everybody!
In fact, we were recording when it started, so I had it on, but it was on mute. So if there were any good jokes or anything, I missed them. The only thing that I can tell you that was a highlight was Benedict Cumberbatch doing another photo bomb. That was the highlight of the entire evening.
That would have been worth it.
Well, and then Betty White and her escort.
Well, no, that was the People's Choice.
Oh, that was People's Choice?
That was People's Choice. Yes,
okay.
the awards ceremonies, once they start, they're back to back to back to back, so they start to blend together after a while. So
yeah, they blend it. Yep.
Yeah. So that it was all
the same clump anyway.
Yeah. No, it was all dramas and stuff that I haven't seen that won. Even in the TV categories, it was nothing that I care about or watch. I know I have. If you watch Downtown Abbey, there was a gal that won for Best Supporting Actress for Downtown Abbey, but other than that, How to Train Your Dragon 2 won for Best Animated Picture. I don't know. I don't understand how that won over Big Hero 6 or the Lego Movie, but whatever.
This year wasn't a particularly impressive year for animation, but I guess any year that's going to follow up after Frozen is going to stumble a little bit.
That's true.
How do you follow up Frozen?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
You just had to let it go.
Yeah, I gotta let it go. Thank you.
I'll tell you why. Hero 6, because the Academy is old white men.
But usually if Disney has a movie in the category, Disney usually takes it. That was a surprise, especially a sequel to an animated picture.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Disney movie like Toy Story 3. So.
Yeah. I saw How to Train Your Dragon. It was fine, but Big Hero 6 was a lot better.
Yes.
I don't know. Like we said,
or the Lego movie.
Nothing we were very passionate about one, so it's award season. What do you want?
And speaking of which, we have the Academy Award, aka the Oscars. Nominations were announced a couple days ago, and we really care about, at least in the major what they consider the major categories. Got any nominations? I have yet to see The Imitation Game, but Benedict Cumberbatch did get nominated for Best Actor, although considering Eddie Redgrave won for The Theory of Everything, playing Stephen Hawking, an indicator of how the Oscars are going to go. So, sorry, Benedict, but you're probably not going to win, as much as I'd like to see him win, just because I think he'd be adorable given his acceptance speech. But that's neither here nor there. But, best, and you have to go all the way down to Best Animated Feature Film before there's anything I really care about. And again, Big Hero 6 got nominated for Animated Feature Film. And you have to get down into the technical, nomination categories before anything that I saw got nominated. So, best makeup and hairstyling, Guardians of the Galaxy, and best makeup and hairstyling, and
effects. And
yeah,
stuff like that.
This is,
the Oscars are just. It's just the movie industry patting themselves on the back for being pretentious.
It is
boring.
Yeah,
as much as they can be. I mean, it's great that they have these great big blockbuster superhero movies and stuff, but those are for the unwashed masses.
Yeah.
They can just go entertain themselves. We're going to go over here and see, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Oscars. I'm sorry. I can't stand it.
I like watching these award ceremonies just because it's always fun when somebody wins and they're like a first time winner and they're it's fun to watch them get all excited and like cry and shake and sometimes trip and fall on the stairs. Hello, Jennifer Lawrence.
That's true.
But it's just, like we got so lucky with Return of the King that one year.
Yeah.
Where it took like everything, and then since then it's just been.
You don't watch the Oscars to actually cheer for anything. You just are kind of, you're trying, like you said, who trips on the way up to the stairs, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or when Benedict Cumberbatch
photobombs somebody.
That's all it is. You don't watch to actually say, "Oh, I love that movie. I want it to win." Yeah, the last time that actually happened, that something that people had actually seen and heard of before the Oscars was Return of the King.
Yep.
So.
Meanwhile, The Hobbit: The Battle of Five Armies got a visual effects nomination.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Or sound editing or something.
They let the little people in that one year, and then they said never again.
Yeah, well, it saves Peter Jackson a flight from New Zealand to Los Angeles, I guess.
Yeah. Go, Peter Jackson, go start making the Temeraire movie.
Yeah.
I'll go watch that one.
Or go direct an episode of Doctor Who. We're still waiting for that.
Or that too.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, enough carping. Let's soldier on.
Yes. Moving on.
To Heroes Reborn is expected sometime this year. When will I see NBC's revival of its old superhero television series, Heroes Reborn? If creator Tim Kaine gets his way, Heroes will return sometime in 2015. While speaking to Zap to It during the Television Critics Association press tour, King said that while Heroes Reborn premiere won't likely happen before June, he hopes to get the show on the air in the back half of the year. Elaborating, King said that the writing team is currently drafting the 13-episode miniseries, with production set to begin in a few months' time. Ideally, cameras will start rolling in the spring for late summer or fall premiere. Train's moving down the road, King said. I can't announce everything. It's all locked. It's Fort Knox. Indeed, very little is known about Heroes Reborn thus far. NBC has only revealed that Jack Coleman will reprise his role as Noah Bennett, or HRG, and former Chuck star Zachary Levi will headline the series as one of its main characters.
So all those Heroes fans have been waiting.
And when I saw the casting announcement about Zachary Levi, I went and I looked in the comments, and a lot of it were people who who stopped watching during the original series, and because of how they felt it had gone downhill and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that they had initially been planning not to have anything to do with Heroes Reborn, but now that Zachary Levi has been cast, they're reluctantly considering giving it a chance.
At least
they must have been fans of Chuck
or the premiere. Yeah. Well, Zachary Levi. I mean, he's just all around awesome. I'll watch anything with him in it.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. And I wonder how many people read that and misread that as Zachary Quinto was returning to. Wrong Zachary.
I don't think so. I think Siler has run his course in that show, but we'll get into that another day.
Yes.
Maybe when Heroes Reborn comes back.
Yeah, we'll have to do
a Heroes episode where we talk about the original.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember any of it. We'll get to that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on. Did we lose Brittany again?
Yes.
We lost Brittany
I thought I heard a ding.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the last bit of news that Brittany had earmarked, but we've lost her again, it is that the next trailer for Star Wars: The Force Awakens will feature Han, Luke, and Leia. So And the trailer is going to be attached to Avengers: Age of Ultron. So we have a date for when the trailer is coming out. Hooray! And so this will be the first time in 32 years that Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher, who will have been in a Star Wars anything related to Star Wars. So that's pretty exciting, right?
Yes. No.
Star Wars is making me want to live this year way too fast.
It's like, okay, is it May yet?
Is
it June, July? Is it December yet? Is it time for Star Wars?
No kidding. I made my list of all the movies I want to see this year, and it's so cool.
It's a long list.
Anyway. Now, if this trailer would happen to leak, I would not mind in the least.
Me neither.
It may very well. So we'll find out. And I love that it's attached to Avengers, because I'm like, because it really hasn't felt real that Star Wars is now a Disney property. I just haven't really thought about it. And now it's like, oh yeah, Disney owns Marvel and they own Star Wars or Lucasfilm. So yeah, that makes sense. Put the trailer with that, and it's so cool.
Yeah. Well, in May is what, 7 months beforehand. So yeah, I would expect a trailer at some point in the early summer. So that's, and you always go to the movies for the trailers. I've yet to see the teaser on the big screen. I know some people that have seen it when they went and saw movies like over Christmas break. I did not get the Star Wars trailer. I did get the Jurassic World trailer, but not the Star Wars teaser, and that made me very sad. So
yeah, I don't think I got either one of those.
Until I see a trailer on the big screen attached in front of a movie, it's not really real.
This actually might make me see Avengers in 3D, just because if they show a trailer for Star Wars in 3D, I would want to see that.
The Avengers in 3D is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's our last bit of proper news, I guess.
Yeah. I do have a quick, it's not really a convention report, but it kind of overlaps. This week, well, actually it's yesterday as we're recording on Friday. If you remember last August, I talked about, we did at the library I work for, Salt Lake County Library, we had an anime convention for teens. It was like over 2 days, and I was part of the committee that did it. Another thing that we do every year is the Harry Potter Yule Ball for teens, and this is our third year doing it. And we had ours yesterday. Yesterday was being Friday, and we do it in January because January is just, well, December is just way too busy for everybody, and January is just this big, cold, gray ball of suck, and we need something fun to kind of liven it up a little bit. And so, I was fortunate enough to be on the committee again this year. I had to miss last year's, and I was on it the year before. This year I was on it, and I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about it, just kind of some behind-the-scenes stuff. This is the first year we got to partner with FantasyCon, which is sort of kind of in competition with Salt Lake Comic Con, but not really. I mean, they kind of do a different thing. They did have a convention a convention last year in conjunction with WesterCon that was here in Salt Lake. And they had like a big Hobbit or Lord of the Rings reunion pretty much here, and it was awesome. I had to miss it because of family things. But FantasyCon partnered with us, as well as the Rocky Mountain Muggles and a bunch of other people that I am forgetting who they all were, but those were the main players. And basically all it is there's a big dance at this event center that the library has. And we have a dance, but then we also have like games and crafts for people who are like sick of dancing or don't want to dance, because we have ages from 12 to 19 that come to this. And just kind of going over my week last week and gearing up for this, we had our final team meeting at the FantasyCon headquarters, which they're in. It's kind of an old shopping mall that isn't so much shopping mall anymore as it's just sort of office space and some niche stores. And I did take some pictures. I should have posted them. I probably will later. But where they have their headquarters and what they have it decorated as, it's like there's this great big table where we met. We're all, when you're in a meeting for your job or for work, it's like there's papers and laptops. It's all very businesslike. But this table, it looks like something that could have come out of the Prancing Pony. And just the whole atmosphere around it. There's just like all this wood carving, and I don't know where they got it. And there's like wooden benches along the walls, but then we had our little cushy desk chairs too. And then they have artwork from The Hobbit and from Lord of the Rings hanging up, and they have some movie posters from like Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars. And they had swords hanging up, and I'm just like, I want to work here. Because this just for the environment, it was just so cool. And we're talking about, our logistics of our event and, who's in charge of what. And it's so much more fun than when we're up in our boardroom in the library administration offices. So I had to highlight FantasyCon for their contribution and just for being super cool in all of this. And then I also ended up making over 200 wands. I finally counted them. Because our craft was, we were making, the kids were going to make wands, and we did them like out of chopsticks and hot glue. I'm holding mine that I made, that I kept, and you just color them with Sharpies, and it's kind of cool. But there was some hesitation on the part of the event planners to let that many teens use hot glue guns, which I can kind of see. And there were some other things, I won't get into it too much, so I ended up making a lot over the course of 3 days. Just so we pre-made them, and then they could just color them. And it's a really cool craft, and so, if you need a wand for a Harry Potter costume or something, chopsticks, hot glue, and Sharpies or paint or glitter. That's just kind of the weird things that youth services librarians come up with. So
I think I've seen that on Pinterest.
Yeah, it might be a Pinterest thing too. That wouldn't surprise me.
Probably.
Yeah. So the day of Yule Ball was Friday, and we were getting all set up. And FantasyCon they have these big blow up dragons that they brought to decorate the area, which is kind of cool. And then so the dance is decorated, and then we also did house points, which we finagled this really cool way to share a Google spreadsheet, and everybody was sorted into houses, and we gave them all a wristband, and whatever color you got, that was your house, and we didn't really let them choose. You just get sorted. And then we'd just go around, and people had iPads or it was on their phones, and we would add up points on this spreadsheet, and then someone was manning the laptop, and they would keep track and display the house points on the wall. And the person who's displaying the points, she's a friend of mine, and she was kind of messing around with the kids sometimes. Like, she would change it and say, Slytherin may have 250 points. Then all of a sudden they have -10, and they all get mad, even though they really don't. She's just changing it to make it to keep it interesting. And they'd look up at the wall and go, "Oh my gosh, what happened?"
Who did deduct the house points?
Yeah, somebody, and there were some people who were legitimately taking away house points. I never did, because I'm like, that's just mean. But my area that I was over for the night was Diagon Alley, and what it was there's this spot in the back behind the main part of the event center, which is it's called Scotland Road, which is something. It's just something that event centers have. I don't know all the details of it, but we converted it into a Diagon Alley, and we had backdrops. FantasyCon brought some of their backdrops, and our marketing department made some, so you could take your picture in front of Diagon Alley or in front of like a cool picture of a dragon or something else. And then the Rocky Mountain Muggles had a room where they had their cosplay group, and they decorated it to look like the Leaky Cauldron. So they had potions, and they had one of the guys, Davy Bird, who I've some of his Harry Potter paraphernalia on the table. He had like Harry's Quidditch robes. He had the Sword of Godric Gryffindor. He had a snitch. There was the Goblet of Fire, the Triwizard Cup. Somebody made a replica of the Monster Book of Monsters, and just all these really cool things. There was like Hedwig, a plushy Hedwig sitting there. And then at the end of Diagon Alley, they just kind of wound their way through it. at the end, there was a group that brought live owls that they could look at and take pictures with. They couldn't touch them because they get, which is probably a good thing, is that they had their handlers there. They had a barn owl, and they had a great horned, and then one other that I can't remember what it was called, but they told me and I forgot. But they were just really cool. Just kind of, you just look at them, you're like, this is so awesome. Yeah. And then they go back out to the dance, and then there was another group that they had these great big snakes that, and they were standing by the Fantasy Con booth, and then someone else had some lizards and a tarantula. Ugh. I didn't go near that, but I don't know. Just by the end of the night, I was kind of keeping my distance from the snakes at first. But by the end of the night, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to go hold a snake. So I go up there, and I was dressed as Hermione. I have like a Hogwarts school uniform kind of thing going out, and then my hair is curly naturally, so it's really easy for me to kind of make it frizzy and poof it out a little bit to look like Hermione. Like the effect that they achieved in the first movie with Emma Watson giving her a wig, my hair does that naturally, so it works. So, so they're like, okay, so they're putting this snake around my shoulders, and they're like, okay, hold it with both hands, and we're going to take, and I had someone taking my picture, and some other people were taking pictures, and they're like, okay, it's kind of wiggly. It's like, okay, so I'm holding it, I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. And then the snake, she'd kind of been kind of coiling around the other people that they'd been letting hold her. So what she'd done, and she'd gone with her head, coiled around the back of my neck, and was starting to burrow toward my neck, but my hair was so big and poofy that she actually got tangled in my hair. So I could feel her trying to pull out of my hair and pulling on my hair, and I'm like, I think I might have screamed at some point, like, come get this off of me, or get her out. And I was like, I don't know what kind of faces I made. There are pictures out there, I'm sure, of me just totally trying not to flip out, but my face is freaking out. They finally got it off me and everything. I'm like, okay, I'm never doing that again.
I could just see like the headlines. Like you normally, snake, like not all snakes, but some snakes they devour their prey, and then some strangle their prey, and some do both. And it's like, the snake was trying to coil around you, and I could just see snake dies due to strangling from hair. Instead of the snake doing the strangling, the snake got strangled.
I know, and I was just like, and then I felt bad because this is someone's pet, and I'm like, I'm sorry if I scared her, because I was so flipping out. But it was kind of fun, and I'm glad I got to do it. And then just one thing real quick, at the end of the night when we were cleaning up, there was one group that was there, and they were giving out, it's called Utah Geek Magazine. It looks like they're pretty new. I've only got issues 2 and 3 here in front of me. And they were just, passing them out and giving them out and trying to get rid of them. And they were like, oh, here, do you want these? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll blurb them on our podcast. Like, you have a podcast? And I was like, more about this. But, yeah. So I promised them I'd give them a shout-out. So it's UtahGeekMagazine.com. They have a website, and they also have a physical. I mean, it's like a, 16-page little thing they give out for free. But, they're just kind of flipping through here. They have, just articles and fan fiction and pictures and ads and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a fun little thing. Their tagline is a convention in every issue. So that's kind of neat. It just makes me happy that we have all of our local geek culture is doing all kinds of cool stuff. And then at the end of Yule Ball, like the kids were all dancing and stuff, and then we counted up the house points, and Hufflepuff won, and the noise was deafening because of those little hipsters. I love the Hufflepuffs.
Have you guys ever seen the YouTube video?
I'm a Gryffindor, but I can mad respect to the Hufflepuffs. But Slytherin took last, and that made me happy.
Have you guys ever seen that YouTube video about the mentalities of all the different houses in Hogwarts?
I have not. You're gonna have to send that to me.
Well, it's like all the rest of the houses are
Me too.
pretty much as you expect, except for Hufflepuff.
I'm a Gryffindor. I'm brave. And it's like I am Ravenclaw. I'm smart, and a Hufflepuff's like I'm a Hufflepuff.
It's totally a video just to make fun of the Hufflepuff.
Yeah. Every time I hear Hufflepuff, I'm like I'm a Hufflepuff.
If you've ever seen a Harry Potter musical, and they just come up with like, Hufflepuffs are particularly good finders, and Dumbledore says, "What the hell is a Hufflepuff?"
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, if you just Google search "I'm a Hufflepuff," the video pops up as the first result.
I'm a Hufflepuff. It's funny.
We'll
post a link to that in the show notes. So yeah, it's all in good fun, but that's a.
Oh yeah, always.
Anytime I hear the word Hufflepuff, I'm like, I'm a Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff. Like what do you say to a house that has Puff in its name? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But anyway. We also had the Death Eaters show up. There was one moment where the House Points board went blank and the Dark Marks showed up, and it was the Rocky Mountain Muggles dressed up as Death Eaters, and they had some of the other the Order of the Phoenix characters got out there, and they like had flashlights going, and there was like a wand duel, and it was like this big old thing. It lasted all of 2 minutes, but it was like this big flash mob production planned out, and it was kind of cool. The kids liked it.
That's cool.
So it's really neat, and it's just a really fun thing that we do, and I'm sure there are other library systems out in the country that do it. So, and then we also have one for adults. Well, the library doesn't do it, but the Rocky Mountain Muggles, they do a Yule Ball that's for adults, because we'd have a lot of people get on our Facebook page and say, "How come I'm not a teenager? I want to do this." And we're like, "Well, go to the Rocky Mountain Muggles. They do their own Yule Ball." And one of the fun things I did, I know I'm kind of going out of order, but one of the fun things that I got to do was I would ask kids trivia questions about Harry Potter, and they could earn house points that way. And I was kind of bummed out because I would ask fairly simple questions I thought were easy, like what is the name of the headmistress of Beauxbatons? And the kids just looked at me with this blank stare, like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, I'm getting old. People don't know Harry Potter anymore. Even the ones who are like, yeah, I've read all the books and I know all the stuff. And I think of like fairly more challenging questions, and they were just like, but my challenging questions were like, what is Bill Weasley's occupation? And they would have no idea.
He works with dragons.
No, that's Charlie.
Oh, it's Charlie. See?
Bill works for Gringotts.
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry. The older Weasleys, they blend together after a while, so.
Maybe I just have absorbed too much Harry Potter knowledge, and I still just am like, oh yeah, that's an easy one, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, apparently not.
Apparently not. Okay, well, forget what I just said. I'm not ashamed of my generation. I'm ashamed of. I'm just too knowledgeable. I absorb too much useless knowledge about Harry Potter.
You have a very, very thorough hard drive, is what you have.
It's a good thing you were Hermione.
Yeah, you were very in character. That's what it was.
That is true.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what would have been like. I did get out and dance a little bit, like when they had I can't remember what it was. There was like some line dance that they were doing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't recognize half the music. I'm like, I am getting old. Then I got in the car and turned on my iPod, and I'm like, oh, thank you, familiar music.
Did they play any Harry Potter music? Like,
not really. I mean, they played some from the soundtrack when the Death Eaters were doing their thing, like scary Death Eater music. But they did play "Happy" by Pharrell Williams. I knew that one, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, and then they all got excited about Journey. Don't Stop Believing. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they know this. They know it because of Glee, and I'm like, whatever.
Hey, whatever keeps people believing.
That's true.
That is okay.
Okay, I won't be too hard on them. I have high standards.
Okay, Hermione.
What do you want from me?
Nothing. Just be yourself.
I can handle that.
Well, it sounds like it was a lot of fun, and I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
And we need something like that here in the Midwest. So y'all need to branch out and make other branches or something. I would totally help.
You need a solid event coordinator like Davey to do this thing.
Yeah, we have nothing like that around here.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at what Davey's group has planned. Like they have a Star Wars 5K coming up, and what it was. I should have grabbed the flyer. I don't remember what all he had, but he just does all kinds of really cool stuff. I'm like, man, there's
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, yay, Yule Ball.
Yay!
And if there's not one in your area, create one.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. Get your library to do it, because it's just a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my report.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And a quick reminder that a week from when we're recording, because it's a bit late now, but as we're recording Saturday, January 17th, a week from now, next Saturday, the 24th, not the 27th, because like I said last time, because I can't do math apparently, because 7 and 7 is 14, not 17. But the 24th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be doing Marvel with Friends, and we will be watching Iron Man 2. So join us on Twitter. Hashtag Marvel with Friends, hashtag Iron Man 2, the number 2, probably not the word 2. But
that's a lot of extra characters.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
You're very limited on Twitter. So very excited for that, because I happen to like Iron Man 2 regardless of what.
Hey, I do too. I don't understand.
Same here.
Yeah. So.
People just need to get over it and enjoy it, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Quit being so mean about it.
I got it out of the library yesterday. Only it's a 1-week renewal period, so it's due like the day to renew it. So hopefully I'll be able to renew.
Hopefully. But anyone that's listening and doesn't have that Iron Man 2 in your repertoire and the library is your only choice, you have a week. So, fair warning.
Yep.
All right. Well, moving on. After all that lovely, lovely news. See, we had a couple of slow news weeks. We come back with a vengeance. But moving along to why we have a man, first of all, on the show. Second of all, he's my husband. But that's neither here nor there. But
it just makes it easier for you to get a hold of him.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really easy to get a hold of him, and it's convenient. The whole reason he's here is because he went to Las Vegas a couple weeks ago, and he attended. Goodness, I can't talk. He attended the Consumer Electronics Show, which, go to your local Best Buy and any of like the cool gaming systems and big awesome TVs that you really want to spend like 6 months rent on, but won't because you'd rather have a roof over your head. As much as you'd really love that big flat screen, more than likely at one point they were debuted and on display at CES. Yeah. It is the biggest electronics conference convention in the entire world, at the very least the United States.
Yeah, there's a CES America. There's a CES America and there's a CES International, and actually the CES America is actually bigger than the international one sometimes. So I don't know. I was thinking about your listeners and you guys, and the way to think about CES that's kind of exciting is that all the things we see technology-wise in science fiction, whenever they come out, when lightsabers actually come out, and all these things we see in sci-fi, they inspire the technology that generally ends up on the show floor at CES. It's all the exciting new gadgets that you really are going to see there. Some of the things become successful, some of them don't, but the whole point at CES is to let you kind of see it. And you can only go if you're an industry affiliate, a seller, if you are a distributor, if you're an engineer. So it's not necessarily for anybody but people kind of in the industry. But I went as a representative for Indiana University in our. I work for the Advanced Visualization Lab, and we are kind of a group of computer programmers / engineers, and we build things for people at IU that do research. And CES is overwhelming. You get there and there's 3,600 vendors. So I calculated out with the amount of time I spent on the actual exhibition floor, I would have had to move from booth to booth every 16 seconds to actually see everything. So there's more there than... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, which would not be worth your time to even look at it. You wouldn't be able to really see anything.
Yeah. Exactly. You really have to plan it out. And, I planned it out as best I could, but I still, even now, I'm listening to podcasts and other YouTube series that are showing me things that I'm like, how did I miss that? I was over like right next to that, but I just didn't see it. I guess I'll give you guys a few, kind of tidbits of exciting things I did see there, because that's what it's all about. The biggest thing I could say is what kind of made history this year and also made the local news in Las Vegas was Mercedes was there with a concept car they call the F015 Transporter. And this car was a self-driving car, but it wasn't like a lab experiment. Like they closed off like a section of the Las Vegas Strip and like a side road just because this car wasn't actually like licensed for the road. And the reporters were in the car with some rep from Mercedes, and they're just sitting there with their arms crossed, and this car is driving down the strip, stopping at stop signs and like making turns and stuff, and they're not driving it. It was amazing. And I got to see it, and the chairs in the car, you can actually like face each other like a living room, so you're not even looking out the windshield if you don't want to. It's amazing. So I'm not sure how far that is out as far as like a real thing, but my gosh, it was pretty Jetson-like, and I was blown away at that car, because I mean, that's how cool would it be if you had your choice to fly somewhere or drive somewhere, and if you drive, you could just like fall asleep and then you wake up there, and your car drove you there the whole time. That would be very cool. The other big thing you saw, like anybody that goes to CES, it's all about the big hot ticket consumer electronics, and that's going to be TVs, displays, and stuff like that. And UHD, Ultra HD, or 4K, that was the big deal this year. Basically, what that means is if you take an HD TV and you pile 4 of them together in kind of like a 2x2 fashion, that's UHD. So it's like 4 times the size in pixels. And man, those things are crystal clear.
There's a lot of movie theaters that are 4K now.
Yeah, right.
You go to your local movie theater and you see 4K, like when they show like the THX sound or Sony surround sound or whatever, they'll also say like projected in 4K. That's what they're selling, but you can put it in your living room.
Right. And there were.
So this is.
Go ahead.
So this is why movie tickets are so expensive, because people can increasingly more afford to have just the movie theater experience in their house. So movies are kind of losing money on that. Maybe, I don't know. Just random theory.
Yeah. I mean, the in the industry, the biggest thing is like, okay, is this going to go on forever? Do we just keep cramming pixels and features into televisions, or is there a different route to go? And so far, it just seems like people are just going to, when I say people, I mean, like Sony and Samsung and Sharp, they're the big display manufacturers. They're just going to keep jamming pixels into these screens, and then, the BBC and Marvel and Disney, they're going to just keep upgrading camera systems to handle 4K, 8K, 16K.
And it's not just TVs; it's computers and stuff that are increasingly increase the number of pixels and stuff. Right.
So that's the thing is, I don't know. I'm an engineer, so I always like to bring up the fundamental reason why all this stuff happens is, and when you talk about resources, usually you're talking about you talk about coal. The price of coal is always going to go up. Well, in computing, the price of computing is always going to go down, and that's called Moore's law. And the point is that as time goes on, as engineers keep building new cool things, you're going to have components that just get cheaper and more powerful. And as that happens, all these ideas that we've had about science fiction slowly become possible. And, it's just a matter of time before, we have, anything in Star Trek, it seems like, really. I mean, that's probably the most directly predicted type of technology, is the stuff you see in
the
Star
holodeck.
Trek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, the easiest example is, your phone. You watch Star Trek, and they're talking into the little communicators, and it's not really a phone, but you can, you have speakerphone. You talk to people, or we're talking to each other on Skype right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's
in the '60s when they first had those on Star Trek, there was no such thing. That was light years ahead of where technology was at that point.
Your phone sat on a table in your house and it was wired into the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It didn't fit in your pocket and you could go outside with it.
Don't complain that we don't have hoverboards yet. You've got a freaking computer in your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's actually an interesting point was another big thing that I saw in almost every booth was this technology called IoT, and that doesn't mean much for any the masses. It's just IoT stands for Internet of Things, and it's this prediction that was made by many people that study computing and predict things in the future, and it's happening now where it's so cheap now to build miniature computers that we can put a computer in your toaster, we could put a computer in your microwave, we could put it in the shower. What's the point of having all those computers? Well, essentially your house then becomes like Jarvis because everything's sensed and could talk. So
speaking of computers in toasters, I saw a video of someone who made made where he could control computer games using toasters, by rewiring, putting the command that the toaster was to take the place of a specific key on the keyboard.
That's great.
I did something like that with fruit.
That's awesome.
3 or 4 toasters, and he was playing this game by just pushing the thing down.
You go through a lot of bread.
I'm sure that has an application somewhere.
Yeah.
Actually, I did something that with fruit at my library last year. I think I have video. I have to find it.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. Toaster.
So Rachel mentioned that we will get the holodeck, and since I work in visualization, that was one of the main things that I was supposed to look at CES, which is virtual reality systems. At IU, we do a lot of research with virtual reality for all kinds of purposes, but really what it means for consumers now is video games and telepresence and social networking, and all those applications don't exist yet, but the hardware does now. And I got a chance to try out this new system called the Oculus Rift Crescent Bay, and it's basically like a pair of ski goggles that you put on, and it has a UHD screen inside, or a 4K screen inside, which is amazing. I mean, you think about that, the amount of pixels jammed into this headset, or the amount of pixels that get projected up on a movie screen that look crystal clear. So that's kind of amazing as far as the technology goes. But anyway, I put this thing on, and it's hard to sell virtual reality, or at least explain it to people that have never tried it, but all I can say is it establishes what they call presence, and it's presence in computer graphics. So when you're looking through a virtual reality system, you actually feel like you're seeing stuff that's floating in front of you or standing in front of you or around you, because as you move your head, your view within the game world is moving as well, right along with your head, and you have two images being rendered to both your eyes, so it is in 3D. And it's like, as you're standing there, I had in their demo, there's a T-Rex that comes down this hallway, and I mean it's a full-size T-Rex, and they have headphones on you, and it was just amazing. I mean, it looked exactly like T-Rex from Jurassic Park, and I mean, it comes walking over the top of you, and you just stand there and have nothing. You have nothing to do other than just look at it. And if I saw that on a TV screen, it wouldn't be that impressive. But when I'm wearing a headset and looking at it, it actually looked like there was a real T-Rex right there in front of me. And I've done virtual reality for a long time, and the headsets I've used over the years have never been that good. But this one was amazing, and this is the one they're going to release for consumers. So all I can say is when you guys go to Best Buy, later this year, probably in the fall, and they've got little headset demo stations set up for they have like Oculus and Samsung have a cell phone virtual reality viewer called Gear VR. Try it out. Ask the staff, hey, can I try that out? Even if you have to wait in line, it is worth it if you've never tried virtual reality, because you'll see what I mean. That's all I can really say. But as far as applications go, almost everybody.
I've about in science fiction for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you could put it on and see stuff that maybe you couldn't go see normally, it does something for you. It's interesting. But I wrote in feedback to you guys a long time ago. I don't know what it was, like episode 4 or something.
Yeah.
About what if you went to a Who convention and you went there virtually? You attended virtually, you bought a virtual ticket. And that may sound far off and I wouldn't want to do that. I'd rather be there to see the people. But when you try VR, I think you might see what I mean. It's very realistic. Other than that, other cool things I saw at CES, drones are a big deal now. People that can fly around these little quadcopters with a video headset, that was interesting. They actually had a set of about 8 drones that were all programmed to perform together like synchronized dancers. It was amazing.
Like synchronized swimming.
Yeah.
Without the water.
Let's see, other things. 3D printing, that's a big thing. So do you guys know about 3D printing?
I do. My library did something like that last year too, and that was really cool.
My library's got the main branch has got a 3D printer that's open to anyone with a library card.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
So does it print like plastic?
We haven't.
So have you ever printed anything out on it? Is it all plastic when it prints out?
Yeah, it's plastic. I printed something for last year. Have you heard of Gishwith, the greatest international scavenger hunt the world has ever seen?
No.
It's done every year by Misha Collins, who's in Supernatural, and you're put on teams of 15, and there's a list of more than 100 items that you can get points for. And last year, one of the things was 3D printing a quill pen and then writing a message with it. So I took that item and did it for my team. So
that's cool. So
yeah, I printed a pen, a plastic pen.
That's cool.
It actually worked?
Well, I had to, it printed the body of the pen, and then I had to get a ink thing from another pen and put it in to write with. But
yeah, that makes sense. But that is cool.
Yeah, the marketing behind these 3D printers now is kind of ridiculous, but it's interesting is that they're marketing them like replicators from Star Trek. We can't quite go up to them and say, "Teat, old gray hot," and then it comes out. But
well, Well, they're getting there.
Yeah.
You can get the mug for the
fact
tea.
that they
Yeah,
even
right.
exist in the form they do now is amazing.
Yeah.
It is pretty
And
amazing.
You can pretty much, you can almost print anything you can think of now, and it's like you said, it's amazing just what you can come up with.
The one interesting thing I saw at CES for 3D printing was that they had at the 3D Systems booth, which is a North Carolina company that's huge for 3D printing, they had printed out an entire band's instruments. So like an entire drum set was printed out. Of course, they added in like the metal clamps of things that weren't printed out, but the drum sticks were printed, the drum kit was printed, the guitars were printed. Of course, the strings were made of metal; they weren't printed. A keyboard was printed, and this band was playing jazz. I mean, they played like for 3 or 4 hours each day, and I mean, how cool is that?
There was the pictures you showed me, the 3D printed clothing.
Yeah, that was a big thing this year. So computers can simulate fabrics, and they can simulate physics. And what's cool is what they would do is have a seamstress give her a tool set of this is a 3D modeling package, and this is a guy that knows 3D printing. Show them what you would design. So they would design up some sort of dress, and what they would do is make like the thread not thread. They would make like little rings so that it could be printed as like little plastic rings that were tiny, and then make that like the fabric. And then what they did was, once it was all like, it was almost like chainmail but made of plastic, but then it was so tiny that it looked like fabric, that to print it out, they actually like suspended this 3D dress and then applied gravity to it so it fell down, almost like if you took a rag or like a dress, held it up and then dropped it on the floor. That pile of the dress on the floor is what they sent to the 3D printer, and then the printer just printed it out and then literally and just kind of had to move it around a little bit to loosen it up. And then they had models there wearing these 3D printed dresses.
So this is the next step from duct tape prom dresses then.
Yeah.
So people will start 3D printing their own prom dress, and then there will be scholarships for this.
Yes.
I can see where this is going.
They had some really next gen futuristic looking dresses though. They had dresses with wings attached to the back that are all 3D printed that were, totally out of the Matrix or some sort of.
We've all seen the Hunger Games. A dress with wings was not that big. It's not that weird.
Yeah.
So, and
this will be a cosplayer's dream.
There you go.
Yeah. Really.
Take it and run with it.
Yeah.
Right. And the 3D printers, they're so cheap now. I mean, they take a long time to print, but I mean, you can get an extremely high quality one for less than $5,000, and then if you want just a 3D printer that works, you can get them for less than $500 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how much does the plastic run?
Well, it's like
the print.
You can buy one big spool, and it would probably last you, depending on how much you print, several years, and that spool would cost you $50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not that bad.
I mean, that's about half as much as an ink cartridge.
Right.
More or less.
I went to a big seminar on 3D printing for one full day. It was like 8 hours of talks from these companies, and that's a big debate within the industry is, how much should they start charging for, designer filament and junk like that. And they don't want this to turn into the HP industry where, they're charging so much for the printing material that it kind of defeats the purpose of owning the printer. So it's going to turn into a designer's market. People who can design stuff in 3D are going to be the ones making the money. And that's what these companies are investing in, is people that can design parts. It's like, if you make a vacuum cleaner, could you 3D print out an entire vacuum cleaner, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So I don't know if you get it too much into the patents and law and ethics or something, but how do people like you said, vacuum cleaner companies or clothing companies? Do you know how if they're in the discussion on this about people can print out their own clothes now at home? How do they have you really heard anything about how they feel about this, or is that not within your purview?
There was a talk about, it was called Analysts Outlook, and one of the things that analysts in these big companies need to look out for is piracy, and then also, printing things that are illegal, like guns, and it's not happening. That's the problem. Is there are people printing guns, but there's a community of 100 people doing it or something.
Yeah, well, and then there's more to the gun. You print out a gun. I guess you can do the pieces, but it's a little. I've seen it done, but there's more to it than look, I have a gun now.
Right.
Yeah, you might have a squirt gun, basically, but it's gonna be a while before they can. I'm sure they can do it. They'll do it at some point, but it's gonna be a while before that happens. Probably is my guess. Very unexpert guess.
It's interesting because you can predict a lot of things, but what's actually happening is really harmless right now. But as time goes on, we'll see what happens. People pirate media, and it's just because the essence of what that media is just a several kilobyte file or megabyte file that can be copied infinitely. So
yeah,
the same thing will happen with 3D prints.
Yeah, that was when the internet was a big thing. Oh my gosh, you can share files and share anything, share pictures with your family or files, and then they're like, yeah, then you can download movies and my music and stuff illegally. So yeah, they're just it's just another tool for such things.
Yep. Well, I'll say this:
people use it for all different kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So technology, it's a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. It's just something we have to keep an eye on. That's all.
Yeah. Police yourself.
Yeah.
Don't.
I actually saw a robot there at CES that you could attach to your windows, and it's like a beetle. It crawls along your window and washes your windows for you.
Wow. Wow.
It was really cool.
For the lazy homeowner.
Or for people who have to wash skyscraper windows.
Yeah.
Right.
Might be safer, actually.
Yeah. Ooh, sounds like a smaller version of what the cruise lines use. Because we went on our cruise and your mom was just fascinated. They have this machine they can attach to the side of the ship and it will wash the side of the ship. It'll just go along a track and will wash and scrub down the side of the ship. And for whatever reason, his mom was absolutely fascinated with it. But she would be a potential purchaser for the window washing beetle. Apparently.
Yeah, maybe. I think
that's why you go on vacation, to see new and unusual things.
Yes.
Yeah. The basically the idea behind a lot of these robots is, what can we automate in our lives that we hate doing? Like cleaning the toilet. Can we automate that with a robot? Stuff like that. And that's the stuff that's going to get popular because if it works, right?
Mm-hmm. And if I don't have to scrub the toilet, even better.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's this other element to CES too it's very superficial and flashy. It's like, how crazy can we make the simplest thing? And they have now a handful of companies that build these speakers now that I don't know why it happened this year. Maybe it was just a patent expired or the technology became available or something. But they now have speakers that float in midair. So the idea is that if you're an audiophile, you're really into listening to music, you can actually listen to a speaker that's not anchored by anything, so the sound waves proliferate some way that is unencumbered. But there's one company called, I think, UFO Speaker, and you really should Google search it. It's literally a speaker that floats in the air with magnets. It's a foot off the ground.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it looks like a UFO.
All this reminds me of those expos. Well, you had the example of that in in Iron Man 2 or in Captain America, where they had all the futuristic kind of stuff, the World's Fair, and they showed all these flashy kind of flying cars and this is what technology can do and so far into the future, and it's and you don't typically hear about these things anymore, but they're just they go to CES and all this kind of stuff, and it's really cool to just hear about this. And
truly,
I saw I saw Big Hero 6 a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, this just sounds like that exhibit or that expo that's at the beginning of that movie, and they're just coming up with all this amazingly random cool stuff that you're like, well, what are they ever going to use that for? But it's like, just make it just to try it, just to see if it works, and that's how you figure out how how you get all these new technologies. It's just try it out and see if you can do it, and then worry about application later.
There was a booth for a group called IEEE, or it's IEEE. It's an acronym for, I forget what it is, but it's basically the place that engineers publish, academic research and industrial research, and they are doing exactly what you're saying. Like, just it's like a World's Fair type of group. It's like what's possible, what can we build, and it's amazing. And I walked in their booth, and they had a racetrack set up and at the time when I got in there was like a crowd of people around this racetrack, and these cars just sitting at the start line. And then there's two guys with these, like, I don't know what you'd call them, but they looked like headsets that you attached to your brain. It looked like almost like they were wearing it on top of their head like a cap, and it had all these little sensors all over the top of their head. And these two guys were like looking at a screen and like training the computer through like it's like, okay, think of going forward over and over again, training the computer what their brain is sending off as a signal, basically how the electrical impulses are moving around in their brain. And these sensors were recording that and calibrating to these guys' heads, and then all of a sudden it said go, and they both thought of it, and these cars just kind of started bumping forward on the track, and then slowly one of them rocketed off and hit the finish line. Everybody cheered. So like they were controlling them with their brains.
Wow,
that's so weird.
That is so cool. And it's interesting you mentioned IEEE. I actually had a roommate who she was she did something with IEEE. This was several years ago, like 7 or 8 years ago, and now she's building robots for the Navy, and she came home over Christmas, and we were just visiting what she's doing, and I'm like, that sounds great. I have no idea what any of that means, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think I've seen like signs for that at my local the college I go to. So
yeah, the IEEE they do some academic stuff.
They have so many conferences that I would have no doubt that they have posters on every campus. It seems like one of my dreams in life is to actually publish into IEEE virtual reality. I've submitted now once and been rejected once, but I'm working on it again for next year.
Well, it sounds pretty exclusive, so
yeah,
keep working at it.
It's the big leagues for whatever niche field you're in. It's the big leagues that nobody's ever heard of. Wearable technology is really a hot thing now, and it's what you would expect. That's what I saw there was watches, and like the iWatch. There's like probably 30 competitors to the iWatch running Android devices. Probably the most interesting stuff I saw was these little things you'd stick on your body that while you're working out, and it would just send all kinds of information to your smartphone. So I'm not necessarily like a fitness junkie or anything, but it was interesting that I could, attach this little thing to my bicep, and if I was working out, it could tell me, how much protein, if I took protein powder, if I, how much I should drink afterwards. It calculates all that out for you.
I've seen things like that, like one that someone had like on their rib cage.
Yeah, right. There was a bike virtual reality experience there that was really cool. I didn't get a chance to try it out, but it literally is like a simulator bike that will move up and down and give you more resistance, and you wear a virtual reality headset. And, you can look around just like you would on a bike, and the computer graphics are going to show you like you're outside, or you're going through Skyrim, or you're on Gallifrey, or wherever the heck you want to ride a bike. And it's blowing wind at you, and it's jumping up and down as you go up over rocks. And, it's a way to make your exercise more entertaining. And that's an interesting little niche area, I think, that'll grow.
That takes spin class to a whole new level.
Yeah, right. It's like if you could do yoga with the doctor telling you how to do yoga.
Oh my gosh, that would be so entertaining.
Yeah. Or you could actually do real Jedi training with Yoda right there in front of you, and that would be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
That would be amazing.
So it seems like a lot of the stuff that is at CES is meant for the immediate consumer market, but then there is this like niche area of stuff that's so futuristic that it's like this could not possibly be sold because people aren't ready for stuff like this. And most of the things I saw like that are going to be specialized smart home things. It's like, how much of your home do you really want to turn into? Do you really want your razor to have a computer in it? That like they want to gamify the house. Have you guys ever heard of gamification before?
It sounds familiar, but
yeah. So like the idea is that like eventually like Procter and Gamble, or say some company that sells you products that you have all over your house, could like gamify all the stuff that you use of theirs in your house. Like you get points for using their toothbrush. You get points for chopping Tyson chicken, and it literally would sense all that stuff, and you would get points, and you could go to the store and use the points or do other things with the points. And that's the futuristic stuff.
Maybe that would encourage certain people, to have good personal hygiene and eat well or something like that.
Maybe.
We can only hope.
Like if you brush your teeth, you get 5 points for the day.
Right. And that kind of stuff, I'm kind of like more like Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. I'm kind of like, I don't necessarily want like to be surveyed, but I could totally see that. Some person may not care and say, I could have good hygiene and earn money doing good hygiene just because, it's fine. So there's lifestyle technology that is coming out that I think people are pensive about, and then some people are just going to accept it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like anything else. I mean, I see people, come into the library, and they're, these older people that, their kids got them an iPad for Christmas. They're like, oh, I don't know about this. Can you show me how to do this? Blah, blah, blah. Then I see other older people who, they have a Kindle and an iPad and smartphone and whatever, and they're just like, this is the greatest thing ever. And, what's the app that you can download e-books or e-audiobooks? I want to listen to them, when I'm out. Like my dad is... He's older, and he got a smartphone, and he's just all hyped up that he can now listen to all his cowboy poetry or all his music on the tractor on his phone. I'm just telling you, this is how I grew up.
I know. It's like that with his grandmother.
Yeah, and he's out there, and he posts on Facebook and says, when I was in high school, I listened to Leonard Skinner on the 8-track or the cassette tape in the tractor in my 1978 blah 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 John Deere thing, and now I'm so many years later, and I'm doing the same thing, only it's on my phone. He's so excited about it.
It's awesome, yeah. So over Christmas break, I had a chance to take home a virtual reality system to a family reunion we had. And a lot of the family members that were there were, in a manner of speaking, down on the farm. None of them really use technology in the way we know it. A lot of them don't even have smartphones yet. Well, anyway, I set this system up and, put them in this demo, this really simple demo that I have where you're standing in Tuscany, Italy, and you're by the ocean, and there's a house, and that's it. And this is like an open source demo that whenever you buy a virtual reality system from Oculus, this is the one you get. And I programmed a circuit that's attached to the system that controls some fans that are around the person that's using it, and a heat lamp, so you can actually feel the sun and you can feel the wind coming off the ocean. And my God, their jaws were on the ground. They were just blown away by how much they think they had missed out on, as far as technology goes. They're like, oh yeah, the last time I got interested in technology was like in high school. It's like,
oh yeah,
how far has it come? They're amazed. And virtual reality.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh well, my story isn't quite as interesting as virtual reality, but my dad's been recording like his life history or life story just because he wants to, and he does a lot of driving, and so he'll record it on his phone, and again, he's just like, just so amazed at how like what he can do with it and that kind of thing. He's like, I just talk into this and it records, and I'm like, go ahead and do, yeah. And it's just, I mean, it's part of like, it's like I get what you're saying, Chauncey. Like you're kind of excited to show people this, and it's not like being condescending. I don't want to sound like you were saying that with your family, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just fun to see people's reaction to all these new things and all this really cool stuff, and it's just they get excited, you get excited about it, and
sure.
Yeah, that was kind of a
No, it's the excitement about potentials, It's like whenever you see a piece of technology that you've never seen before, or it's like, oh my god, that thing I saw in Star Trek is now like available. I gotta have it.
People are making this stuff that was on a spaceship,
right?
On TV.
It's Time Lord technology, man.
Make it more Sonic.
Yeah,
more Sonic.
And that's exactly what they do.
Yep.
And it's amazing. It's just so cool.
Let's see, what else did I see that you guys would like?
Besides Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I saw Stevie Wonder.
And here I thought that was the highlight.
Just walking around on the street.
Yeah, I mean, I was standing in a lobby looking at my phone, and I just look up and I go, oh my god, that's Stevie Wonder.
And his entourage, but...
Nice.
Yeah, CES it draws it, and he was actually there for CES. You said you saw him in like the program or whatever. He was on a panel.
He's on a panel, yeah.
About how technology can help people with disabilities.
Yeah.
So, but CES it pulls in a lot of celebrities, and a lot of them are technology people. So if you're not in the industry, you wouldn't know who they are. But like Shaquille O'Neal was there. And Ice-T.
Shia LaBeouf was there.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf.
I literally got off the plane and was walking through the airport towards baggage claim, and there's a limo driver holding a sign or an iPad with a sign on it saying S LaBeouf. I'm like, yeah, I know exactly who you're waiting for.
And I'm very sorry.
So,
well, I guess he has to be somewhere, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
One of the other things I keep forgetting to mention is CES, when you go to it, if you're on a mailing list for a lot of vendors, they'll be texting you and tweeting you advertisements for parties after CES in the evening. So it's like a 24-hour event. And I got invited to a party in a suite for a company called Six Sense. And Six Sense makes 3D controllers for virtual reality, but what was so cool about this thing was they had a demo with lightsabers. So I get to this event and I'm like standing in line in a suite, and it smells like a bunch of sweaty guys, because that's pretty much what it was. There's a bunch of video game virtual reality enthusiasts, a whole bunch of neck-bearded developers, for lack of a better term. And
the other type of neckbeard, not the Andrew Luck neckbeard.
Right. And we're all talking about VR and the future and blah, 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 blah. And I finally get a chance to put this thing on, and it is amazing. Like, I'm standing in what looks to be like the docking bay of, like, I don't know, one of the Rebel frigates in Star Wars. And I look behind me, and there are about 7 lightsabers, different colors, floating in midair right behind me. And I reach my hand out, and I pull the trigger on the handle thing I'm holding, and I grab one of the lightsabers, and then I grab another one. And I think I chose like red and green. I don't know why I did that, but whatever.
You wanted to play both sides of the Force.
Yeah,
that's what it
right.
was.
Right. So then I turn around, and there's this floating drone, and this is all in computer graphics, mind you. It's so cool. And this thing is like what Luke faced in A New Hope. It fires like little yellow lasers at me. And it's floating around and it's waiting for me, and I turn on these lightsabers, and they had a sound system in there, so it's really, bassy and exciting, and then all of a sudden this thing starts firing lasers at me, and I'm blocking them and ricocheting lasers off, and then the guy goes, all right, it's going to get a little harder now, and this thing pulls away and just starts like rapid firing lasers at me, and I'm just like in the middle of a room, like jumping up and down and shaking these like controllers and trying to block the lasers, and I keep getting shot. Everybody's laughing at me, but it was really exciting. And then
this is what people were like when the Wii first came out, and they're flinging the controller.
Right. Finally, I feel a hand on my back going, Chauncey, calm down. You're gonna fall down or something. But man, oh man, is it realistic? I mean, I developed for VR and I knew exactly how that was all built and everything, and it's like I understood all that, but it was still exciting. That's
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because it's Star Wars.
It's one thing to think, okay, I'm building this and hopefully it's going to work, test it out. Then when you actually experience it, you're like, holy cow, it actually works.
Right.
It's amazing.
When you build experiences.
Yeah.
Well, I would say when you build experiences with computers, a lot of times you spend so much time working on it that when you go through it, you only see the flaws. You only see the little things that, may be kind of behind the scenes that most people wouldn't see. But then like with VR, it's like it doesn't matter. If you create a challenging experience, everything's blocked out. You can't see anything but the graphics, and it's like doing a Disney attraction in your living room. It's that good.
Cool.
Again, you're never going to have to leave your house for entertainment. You don't need to go to the movies. You don't need to go to Disneyland.
Yeah, that won't stop me from going to Disney. Sorry. Sorry to all those companies at CES. You're not going to stop me from going to Disney. So. Tide me over in between trips, maybe, but you're not going to stop me from going. So. Well, that's very cool. Yep. That's the most I've got to hear about it since he got home, and it's been, what, a week and a half?
About a week, yeah.
So, that's very interesting to hear about. And we'll...
last thing. Droids. We will probably have droids in our houses within 20 years, I bet.
Nice.
These are the droids you're looking for.
Google search for Jibo. I think he was a Kickstarter project, but he's like probably the closest droid that I think people will start to think about buying. And basically, it's like Siri but in a robot.
These are the droids you're looking for. So many Star Trek and Star Wars references.
Yep.
Well, these people. I mean, I saw a documentary a few years ago, and it was talking about stuff in Star Trek that we now have, and different things like that. And they did mention Star Wars, so like, a lightsaber, there's no way in physics that you can make that happen, but Star Trek, oh yeah, we can do, or we've already done all this stuff, and so yeah, a lot. I mean, and a lot. They had these scientists on, and they were interviewing them and saying that they were inspired by Star Trek to create these things. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me that there are, sci-fi references all over the place, because that's exactly what all this stuff is, and that's where a lot of this comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Just people seeing it and they're like, I wonder if I can make that.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then they go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else? Excuse me.
Probably back to 3D printing a little bit. I think there's going to be a new revolution in food with 3D printing. At the 3D printing seminar I was at, they mentioned, the way 3D printers work is it's just like a faucet of plastic that a computer controls. Really, that's all it is. So they were mentioning that, like, a soft serve ice cream machine pretty much is a 3D printer. It's just, the computer is the person that is creating the ice cream cone. You move your hand underneath it. Whereas a computer, if it's moving around the faucet, then it can create, complex shapes and 3D shapes. And there was a printer there printing off cereal pieces. There was a printer there doing a cake. And there was a printer there making pizza. So, food technology, food culture, it doesn't advance that much that fast, but I think 3D printing will revolutionize food. We can print now new textures, we can print new shapes, and when you start to get 3D printers in kitchens of chefs, it's only going to be a matter of time before we start getting them into homes, and people start selling, or companies start selling, packets that you attach to your 3D printer to make bagel bites and stuff like that. So,
Well, I did see something about like 3D printed candy a while back.
Right.
I could see candy because they have, like, I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's It's like that sponge sugar hard candy that they can make ribbons out of, and it looks really cool. So I can see something like 3D printing, like put in the sugar, the hardened sugar taffy type of stuff. I don't know what it's called, but I can see that.
I know Rachel is excited for when she can download the 3D printing file to make 3D printed Doritos.
Yes, I want 3D Doritos to come back in the worst way. I'm just gonna make my own. Gosh darn it! So.
They were just glorified Cheetos, though.
I know, but they were awesome. If anybody's listening, I want 3D Doritos to come back. Just saying. So. Now you're making me hungry talking about food. Between that and the technology issues we've been having, which people may or may not realize we're having in this episode, we should probably wrap this up. As fascinating as it has been.
That's it.
I was just saying during one of our little drop sessions we're talking about the wonders and gloriousness of technology, when in fact technology is crapping out on us today.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it is great, lets your imagination run wild, but sometimes it still comes back and says, nope, I'm just going to suck for you tonight. And you're just going to have to deal with it.
Yep. No.
But
sometimes the TARDIS gets sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the TARDIS takes you where you don't want to go.
Exactly. But thank you for coming on and describing all these wonderful new things and new ideas that people are coming up with, and this is the stuff that science fiction is made of, and it's coming to life, and what times we are living in. It's amazing.
Soon to appear in a Sky Mall catalog near you. That's where all this stuff
at least
seems to end
Best
up.
Buy where you can demo it.
Yeah.
Still, the Snuggie is the greatest invention in the last 20 years.
I will not argue with that. The Snuggie for dogs? we got our dogs into a Snuggie one Christmas, and man, she loves the heck out of that thing. She wasn't sure about it at first, but she loves that thing. So much that she likes to hide it.
That is hilarious and disturbing all at the same time. Alrighty then. Well, we will. We'll probably put some links to some stuff in the show notes, the some of the highlights, and maybe the website for some of the companies you mentioned and all that fun stuff. So, but this has been very insightful. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you guys. Thanks for letting me on the show tonight. It's been fun.
Yeah. So. You are our major benefactor, so you had to appear at least once.
And only so we could say thank you in person, and I'm using air quotes even though you can't see them.
Yeah.
But thank you. Yeah. And my offer of sending you cookies still stands. I don't know how good they'll be, but that was just really a cool thing you did.
No well, problem. You could order from your local Girl Scout, and you could ship those to us. We would gladly take those. He would gladly take those.
I probably wouldn't even get one of those with Rachel around.
It depends on which cookie it was.
She loves Girl Scout cookies.
Put it on there in big letters for Chauncey only. Rachel, don't touch.
If they're kinds I don't like, then that won't be a problem. So send him as many Thin Mints as you want, and I won't touch them. I promise. Yeah.
Well, you can get Samoas at the store now.
Ugh, I don't like those either.
Really?
No.
Oh, those are the best.
Tag-alongs are all or no. That's it.
No, it's my pleasure, and you guys just keep doing it. Keep working on the show, and I know it's getting better every show. So
yeah. When technology lets us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, obviously, show notes and links to everything will be on our blog and also in the show notes of the show notes on iTunes as well. I tried to put, I'm putting the links to like our blog and everything in the show notes that'll appear in the little information thing on iTunes. I won't go through putting all the links for all the news and everything because I don't think anybody would want to scroll through that anyway. But you will find the link to our blog and everything and all of the news and relevant links for our Twitter and Tumblr and everything on our blog, which is the 5ish Fangirls podcast.blogspot.com. So you can find everything there, and you can send feedback to us that way. And as far as we can tell, people are downloading the show from iTunes. So I know you were out there. So feel free to contact us and send us feedback, even if you just want to say hi. That would be fantastic. Let us know you're out there.
We'll read out hi.
Yes,
we'll read out hi.
We will read out hi. We will pretty much read out anything, even if it's spam, because Traveling the Vortex has done that, which was utterly hilarious, actually.
Canadian Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, Canadian Pharmaceuticals.
Especially because they read it with such utter sincerity.
I know.
Yeah, they read it out just as much as they read out our reviews of what they're reviewing.
Yeah.
Like, you guys. Between that and Glenn's Netflix roulette, it's just. Yeah. They're highly entertaining.
If he hadn't discovered the site, I probably would have told him about that there's a site for Netflix roulette.
Yeah. I feel bad for the people that update that to make sure it's current.
They probably were doing it anyway, so they put it in their spreadsheets. Like, hey, let's just put this online. And
that's true.
Do a funky roulette thing with it.
That's true. Well, with that, I think we will sign off for this week. So.
This is Brittany.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
This is Mitch from Kitchener, Ontario saying goodnight.
This is Chauncey from Indianapolis saying sayonara.
And this is Rachel, also from Indianapolis, Indiana. Good night, everyone. You have been listening to the 5ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.